Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your prosthetic hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we got you covered. In the summertime, John and I like to watch as many cool anime as we can, so let's kick off this episode by talking about all those funky fresh premieres from summer season in the sneak peek. And after all that goodness, we will discuss our first series from spring, so we shall embark on a journey with the artificial limbed sword fighter Hyakkimaru and his little sidekick Dororo in a quest to reclaim Hyakkimaru's stone body parts from a bunch of nasty demons, all while doing some soul searching on the way as well. Sounds like a lot of fun, so don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the sneak peek! Once again, we got a lot of new shows to go through. Usually we categorize all the premieres we checked out into 3 sections, the nopes, the maybes, and the keepers. I say usually because for the first time on Anime Brain Freeze, I don't think I have any clear nopes yet. John, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, this season's it's not bad. It had some pretty good premieres. Some that I'm not entirely sure about, but you know, no shows that I was immediately like, get out.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, what's the first show that you checked out that you said, yeah, maybe I'm gonna stick around for?
The first one was Granbelm.
Yeah, that's the same for me in terms of, that's the one I'm most unsure about currently.
Yeah, so I mean, basically it takes place in a world where magic has all but disappeared, and most people had forgotten it basically ever existed. Enter our plucky heroine, Kokinata Mangetsu. And she has a pretty positive outlook on life, but basically nothing to really call her own because she wasn't good at academics or sports. But she dreamed of having something she was good at. And on a night where the full moon was shining brightly, she happens to meet another girl whose name also has moon in it. Ha 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 ha. Shingetsu, Ernesta Fukami. And that's when she encountered mechanical dolls called Armanox. I was watching this and I was like, so it's basically, you know, Super Robot Wars, complete with the cut-ins from the game.
And with the mech designs. Like, they
I
look...
like how the sprites are done in like a chibi style.
Yeah, super deformed style, kind of. Yeah, it's interesting. But that's also one of the points that has me still a bit hesitant and not completely sold on the show yet. I'm not a fan of those blocky SD versions of normal mechs, so...
I mean... And I mean, you know, it looks fucking good.
Yeah.
And it's written by Juki Hanada, so I have to at least check out a little bit of it because I like his writing. So I don't know how long I'll stick with it. I don't know how long you'll stick with it, but it seems, you know, like it could be neat, or it'll at least be a looker, so.
Yeah, at least from the setup alone, there's enough that they could do with this story-wise, but it's just like, right now, I'm not sure they're gonna, because right now it seems like, hey, this is Battle Royale with mechs, an open world, closed off fighting arena, kinda. You know, like you said, it looks good. The fight choreography especially is pretty damn great, like the action choreography. There are a lot of cool gun battles and melee battles between the mechs, and the characters seem fun and everything. But yeah, we'll have to see if the story goes anywhere interesting. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. I mean, they did put something interesting at the end of the second episode, so we'll see.
I haven't seen that one yet, so. All right, yeah, that's a maybe. My next maybe, also a series I'm not completely sold on yet. You know, I was very interested in it from the summary, but yeah, is To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts, which is about a civil war in a kind of, I don't know, steampunky setting, maybe. And one side starts utilizing this special army corps that is made up of people who can transform into a variety of different monsters, and they're called the Incarnates. So you got dragons, you got harpies, ogres, wolves, lots of cool designs, lots of cool different monsters. And then after a while, members of this battalion start losing themselves to their bestial side and begin to run amok and murder basically anyone in their way. And their captain decides that he's not gonna leave it to anyone else to kill his soldiers and former comrades who can't control themselves anymore, but he's gonna do it himself. He's also got a very personal beef with one of his former teammates, so this show is mostly about him slaughtering at least one of his old friends in every given episode. Which sounds grueling, and it is, but I was kind of hoping for the show to treat the captain's quest with a bit more of a skeptical attitude, because so far 3 of the 2 comrades he has slain were actually hurting people in their monster form. Like, one guy aside, they are written one-sidedly evil or cartoonishly psychotic, and the other guy was still painted as this animal that would soon go wild and kill someone if our white wolf edgelord knight didn't take matters into his own hands. His actions were kind of justified by how the show is written, and I think that makes it a little too easy on him in terms of moral high ground, because he doesn't reconsider. He just comes into town, kills them without mercy, and that's it so far. I mean, he obviously hates it, because like they were like family once, but it's necessary. At least that's how he sees it. So at least that is what also one of the other main characters takes issue with. But she is also a bit too, I don't know, easily convinced to not kick his ass when she has the chance.
Yeah.
That was a weird scene where she's like, no, I'm gonna join you and see if you're right. I'm like, what? That's just a weird stance to take on all of this. And yeah, it looks interesting.
Maybe there'll be a turn later on. Who knows?
Yeah, it looks interesting enough. The animation quality has been good so far as well, but I don't know if I like where the show is going right now. I kind of don't like the main character at the moment and how the show portrays him and kind of makes him still this sad hero who has to do this because it's a job. And I'm just always wondering, like, does he really have to do this? Is this necessary? Couldn't, I don't know, maybe employ some people who find a cure for these guys and stuff like that instead of just going into town and murdering every one of your old comrades without question and hesitation. And the show just doesn't go enough into the relationship between him and any given former teammate, like details some moments from their shared history to merit a big emotional response when he kills them. That's also not in there. So yeah, in that regard, it's a bit lackluster right now. I mean, that might still change. First 2 episodes felt a lot like setup and, you know, table setting and everything, and introducing the main players and the story. And now that we have those, maybe in the coming episodes there will be more stuff happening there, and it maybe we'll get a more interesting, and we get a bit more of gray area there. So we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully, because I thought it was a pretty interesting start too, but this is animated by Mappa, and we're going to talk about them again in a few minutes.
Yes.
But they do good work, but they also don't sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes can be inconsistent.
They can manage to hold it together for a pretty good amount of time, but then, oh boy.
Which we'll also talk about.
Yes.
In a few minutes. I don't know, hours. But yeah. Later this episode.
Yes, there you go.
All right. John, what's your next show?
Mine is Given. So it's a story about this kid, Ritsuka Uenoyama, and when he first started playing the guitar, he was super devoted to music and he was enthusiastic about it. But since then, he's kind of, leveled out, and he's having trouble mustering up the same level of enthusiasm that he used to have. And that's partially why his meeting with Mafuyu Sato throws him so badly. When he finds Mafuyu sitting on the stairs, cradling a guitar with a broken string, it sparks something in him. At first, Ritsuka's just annoyed with Mafuyu, who can't change a string, tune his instrument, and keeps insisting that he wants Ritsuka to teach him how to play. But there's a piece of him that likes the attention, and when he sees how hard Mafuyu is working and how quickly he learns, something within Ritsuka begins to warm up to him. So, this is yet another teen romance show, but it's super gay. And
implied or?
Oh no, it's definitely a BL story.
All right,
but I think the last one we watched that even had a twinge of BL in it was Banana Fish, and Jesus Christ, it did not earn that.
No, I mean that was also from a different time, so
I guess.
But I think Banana Fish's problems were not in the not realizing the potential in terms of telling a good story about a gay romance, but also just the plot
Not
in
telling
general.
a good story.
Just not telling a good story in general, but especially by the end. Yeah,
But
definitely.
but yeah, I mean, so I don't know, something about this grabbed me mostly because it just looked really pretty. And I'm always a sucker for a story that centers around music. So
Yeah.
I just want to check this out and see more of it. I Again, I don't know how long I'll go with it because I've been pushing a lot of teen romance stories to the side for a while because hey, guess who's not a teenager anymore? Us too.
Yeah.
So, I'll see where it goes, but it could be cool.
Yeah.
What's next up for you?
My next show is Doctor Stone.
Ha.
One of the bigger Shonen Jump series in recent years. Yeah, the story is well, someday suddenly all people in our world get turned into stone, which seems appropriate given the name of the show.
Yeah.
But not only for a couple of days, but whooping 3,700 years.
Very precise.
Yeah, that is very precise, and or it's around that. I don't know if it's exactly that number, but it's around 3,700 years. I think that's what the number they gave. So yeah, of course, the world completely changes in that time period, and we get like this nice, very green, lush post-apocalyptic setting that I really like. That's one of my favorites. Like, for example, Horizon, the PS4 game. I fucking love the look of that game. Or Last of Us, if you want to count that too. Anyway, it's kind of like that. Then, after those 3,700 years, some of them wake up for initially unknown reasons. And it's up to our two main characters, a super genius and his muscle brain buddy, to figure out what happened, how to wake up their friends and other people, and how to rebuild society and civilization. Yeah, it's a cool concept, a cool setting. Like I said, the cast is quite sympathetic. I'm pretty interested to see where it goes, but right now I can't tell how much meat the story can offer. So we'll see. I can't really see how the typical shonen battles will play out in this one. I heard they're more on the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure side, as in outthinking your opponent and stuff like that. So that's interesting. I want to see where it goes. I've only seen the first episode so far, so yeah, could be cool. I've heard some good things about the manga, so I'm interested to see more.
This one kind of just sort of passed over just because I did, but it could be neat.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. I'm not gonna push this aside any longer. My next maybe is, do you love your mom? And her 2-hit multi-target attacks.
I was thinking about checking it out, but I was like, no, too many isekai. Well, this is not really one, right? I mean, this is clearly set in
I mean, kind of, sort of.
Yes, I mean, but it's not like transported away to a weird fantasy realm that also weirdly works how a video game. It's an actual virtual video game, like Sword Art or something.
That's true, yeah.
Okay.
It has an equally ridiculously long Japanese name. Mm-hmm. So we're going to call it for short Okaa-san Online, like everyone else is. So basically, what would you do if you got transported into a video game? With your mother. That's the dilemma facing high schooler Masato Osuki, who's been unwittingly thrown into an RPG world with his doting mother close behind as part of a secret government scheme.
Okay.
As an avid gamer, Masato's eager to show up his skills, but that's hard to do when your mom is insanely overpowered. She's dual wielding and she's a multi-target specialist. Jesus Christ. So, I don't know how to talk about what exactly to say. They threw the pretense out the window in the first 5 minutes, which I appreciate. They were just like, yeah, you completed this survey. We're sending you into an online game. Go. Okay, sure. And Masato's like, I'm going to come back with all sorts of stories for my mom, whatever. And then suddenly his mom comes along and I guess it's not the ideal situation if you're a young guy wanting to just be a show-offy piece of shit. Especially when you find out that you are way underpowered and just a loser in comparison. The one of the plot points is in the very first episode is they meet with the king of the land, and because it's a game, they register their accounts because, of course,
Mm-hmm.
All right, in order to keep you playing and keep you interested, we're going to give you this really high level reward early on. And Masato's like, wow, you're just really desperate. Cool. So he and his mother are presented with 3 swords. He takes the one he thinks is cool. And then his mother is like, oh, I'll take this one. Yanks both of the other ones out. And she's like, and her logic is, well, if we take only one of the other 2, then the other one will be lonely. Great. Cool.
All
Thanks,
right.
Mom. And she's just swinging both of these swords around like it's nothing, raining down fire and ice with these elemental blades, and it's goofy and dumb. I kind of love it.
It sounds a bit like Konosuba material.
A little bit.
Mm.
I mean, the dynamic between Masato and, oh my god, her name is Mamako. Because,
Oh, God.
of course, because of fucking course. I feel like the dynamic between them at least feels decently mother-son-ish. It doesn't feel super gross or anything.
Okay.
There's one point where Masato's like, I don't like that you're so much stronger than me. I wanted to disown you. But Mamako's like, how could you say such a horrible thing to your mother? And it's like, oh, I feel bad. I feel bad already. But it just seems like goofy and dumb. And like I said, the pretense was gone immediately. So at least this story, it feels like it knows exactly what it wants to be. So I'll watch a few more episodes.
And it's a pretty underused relationship in anime and video games. I mean, in anime, especially considering that most anime moms die pretty early in any given series they're in. But but I think we can both agree that the best part about Grandia 3, and maybe the only good part, is Miranda, the mother of the main character.
Mm-hmm. And then she leaves in the first 2 hours of the game, and it's like, well, I guess this game's a wash.
Yeah, so there you go. Good things can come from such a story setup. I don't know if that will happen in the show, but it at least seems to have the comedic side pinned down.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it a chance because of that.
Yeah, sure. Tell me or let me know how it turns out.
All right. So, what do you have next?
I'm not sure. This might be one of your keepers, actually, considering how you talked about it before, but it's still one of my maybes. Lord El-Melloi, the second Case Files.
I mean, it's the sequel to Fate Zero, of course.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's what it is. It's about one of the side characters from that show, Waver Velvet, grown up now. And he has taken over the magician class from his asshole sensei, Kenneth, who got axed in Fate Zero, thankfully.
Hey, Fast Wheels Kenneth, back again.
Oh, God. I forgot that nickname. God damn it. But yeah, then he gets roped into a power struggle between the highest mages of the Clock Tower, aka the headquarters of the entire Mages Association in that universe. So it seems to be this supernatural mystery / procedural show, a bit of intrigue and conspiracy stuff and action on the side, judging from its first 2 episodes. It's neat. I'm interested to learn more about the other characters that they introduced. Waver and Ryder were probably the most fun pairing of Master and Servant in Fate Zero. And it seems like this show is heavily leading into the emotional outfall for Waver resulting from the events of that series. I wasn't expecting it to make such a clear follow-up connection to that, but it does. And I like that a lot. My only concern is that the week-by-week cases might not be as interesting as the rest that will be going on in the show. Again, we'll see. But for that reason, right now, it's still a maybe. I'm pretty sure it will turn out to be a keeper, though.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there was a scene in the first, not the episode 0, but the first episode, if that makes any sense, where I guess there was a part in the story they kind of skipped, but they gave Gray this sort of throwaway line that just let them be like, oh yeah, no, don't worry about that. So, that's fine. Hopefully, that'll let them get to the meat and potatoes of the story a bit faster.
Yeah, I hope they dive deeper into the stuff that they seemingly have set up, but I can't be sure about that yet, so we'll see. It would be disappointing if they didn't. Yeah, and it's a very good looking show. Yeah, what's the next show you got, John?
Next up was Copcraft.
Yes, that's my last maybe.
Okay. So about 15 years ago, a gate to another dimension opened over the Pacific. And beyond this gate lies a strange alternate world called Reto Simani, where fairies, demons, and you name it, where they live. And this is in relative proximity to San Teresa City, City of Dreams, the City of Paradise, where over 2 million immigrants live from both worlds. And as a result, there are haves and have-nots. But in the shadow of chaos, crime is rampant. Drugs, prostitution, weapon trafficking, you name it, all the fun stuff. The detectives who stand up to these heinous crimes are part of the San Teresa City Police. When the detective Kei Matoba and the alternate world knight Tirana, two individuals who differ in gender, personality, and world of origin, meet, all sorts of things go nuts and crazy. So, I was talking with a friend of ours, and he said it seemed like this one Netflix movie series, I'm not sure if it's
the
one
Will
or
Smith
the other.
thing.
Yeah, called Bright, except
Yes.
he described it as bright but anime as fuck. And yeah, I see it.
I hope it's better. It's more turned out to be more well written than Bright is or was. That was not a good movie. But
I don't know anything about it other than it exists and it's a concept.
I mean, you're right. In terms of setting, it's pretty much the same as Bright, kinda. It's a buddy cop show. It's about a hard-boiled detective who gets paired with a, like you said, Lady Elf Warrior from another dimension. Yeah, and then they try to find out who's behind certain crimes, and Kay's partner gets killed in the very first minutes of the first episode, and of course he has to avenge him and everything and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty well trodden ground. So nothing really new in terms of setup, but the two mains are entertaining and sympathetic, and the presentation has been aces, at least in the first episode. Like great visuals, great music, fantastic OP.
Oh my god, that OP is so good.
Right? It's already one of my favorites. So yeah, all is very top notch. So this might just be a fun joyride show to watch on the side each week. And I think I might keep it around for that.
Also, it's kind of nice to see a light novel adaptation. Well, even though this does involve another world, it's not transported to another world because LOL, I couldn't think of anything better.
Yeah, a bit more interesting in terms of setup.
It has more legs to it than, other sorts of stories like that.
Yeah.
All right. So what else? What you got?
All right. I think that's it for us for the maybes. And yeah, let's move over to the keepers. So shows that we decided that we're definitely gonna stick with unless something really bad happens. Yeah, my first pick for the keepers is Fire Force.
Hell yeah, it is.
Which is a new show based on a manga by the creator of Soul Eater, an anime I enjoyed very much, which was adapted by Bones and looked really, really good and was really, really fun. And this one is about a squad of literal firemen and women who fight people suddenly turning into fire demons. Kinda, it's not really explained yet. I mean, that's one of the mysteries behind it, all of it, how that is happening. But yeah, weird baggy outfits of the fire squad aside, and hey, at least it's accurate in that regard. I really like the look of this show. Character designs are cool, the fights are visually stunning. Like, Jesus Christ, David Production. What the fuck? I didn't know you were capable of this.
Putting that JoJo money to good use.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I doubt it'll be as consistently good looking as it was in the first episode, but
the second episode looked pretty good too, so.
All right, there you go. I've heard, I don't know offhand who the director is on this, but I've heard good things about him or her, so maybe that's the reason behind it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more. This is probably another great shonen-style action extravaganza that never takes much convincing for me to watch it, let's be honest. But this series seems to do the extra legwork, so I'm definitely in. And it sounds like you are too.
Oh, hell yeah. I was super in after the first episode. Let's go.
Yeah. The cast is sympathetic too, so yeah.
Yeah, they're all great.
Yeah, definitely recommended. So what's your first keeper?
I don't know if I'm going to begrudgingly call this a keeper. A certain scientific accelerator.
Ah, there we go.
Because I'm feeling really burned on Rail Decks after Index 3, man.
But you have to know.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the story, kind of, sort of. Basically, the story centers all around Accelerator, if you couldn't tell from the title.
And Last Auto, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, basically Accelerator is recovering from injuries when trouble literally lands in his bedroom. There's a whole group of zealots calling themselves the DA, and they're causing havoc that, could threaten the city, not mentioning the entire world, because of course there's always a worldwide threat in Index. But yeah, Accelerator can hardly ever be bothered to get out of bed for anything unless it involves Last Order. So there you go. I was trying to figure out where on the timeline this takes place, and I'm going to have to look it up again, but because I couldn't really figure it out. Yeah, I'm going to watch it because it's part of the whole Raildex thing. And hopefully it'll be better than Index 3. I mean, I'll say this, it has a different director, which is actually kind of surprising. But, it looked a little better because I remember watching one of the preview videos and being like, oh, geez, at some of the pieces of animation. But you know what? To their credit, they kind of cleaned parts of it up. So I have the faintest glimmer of hope that this will be better.
Is JC staff working on this again, or is it a different studio?
Of course they are. They wouldn't give it up to anyone else.
Moneymaker.
JC staff is working on there's so many shows of theirs this season. The okaa-san online, blah blah blah, is one of theirs. So
maybe they're spreading themselves a bit too thin.
Yeah, but maybe they can do it. Maybe they can. I don't know. Probably not, but I guess we'll see.
All right. Yeah, another keeper of mine is Astra Lost in Space, which was definitely a surprise, as I wasn't really aware of that show until you mentioned it to me. And it's about a bunch of classmates who are supposed to attend a school camp, but on a different planet, because this is a space adventure. And when they arrive, a weird orb sucks them up, and they get transported into actual deep space and now have to find a way back home and try to survive long enough to get there. I just loved the first 2 episodes of this show. Like, we got a super sympathetic cast. Well, not Kittery in the beginning, but she comes around quickly. An unassuming start that quickly goes from 1 to 11 in terms of drama and thrills, a good sense of humor, a couple of interesting mysteries to decipher and uncover, appealing visuals, great music. It's all here. For something that almost completely flew under my radar, I can't believe how invested I was into this story and these characters from the get-go. So yeah, I can't wait to see more. I was just completely in for some reason. For some reason, everything connected. I don't know why. There's a lot of cliches to go around in this show as well. But still, I don't know. Everything worked for me in those first two episodes. So I hope it stays the course.
It was super thrilling. I mean, I got to unveil to you one of my most stupid, irrational fears about being caught adrift in space. And oh boy, watching that first episode, I was just like, but it was still interesting to me. So, I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep watching this probably.
Me too, definitely. So, John, your next keeper, which is probably also my next keeper, let's be honest.
The next show is the triumphant return.
Yes.
Of Symphogear.
Indeed.
Symphogear XV, the very long-awaited 5th season, because boy, after AXZ, they put the carrot out in front of us, and
Dangle, dangle.
And it was supposed to be last season, but you know what? It's fine that they delayed it, just to up the quality of it. So,
Yeah, take your time. Make it work.
yeah. So, yes, Symphogear XV. The curse of Balal still hangs over humanity. An accident on a song research vessel spurns the Symphogear team to Antarctica, where a massive monstrous coffin is awakening. It might also look like a penguin. Someone pointed that out to me after the fact on Twitter, and I was like, oh God, it does look like a penguin, a big yellow and purple penguin. But supposedly this coffin is carrying the corpse of one of the fabled custodians.
Finally.
Yes, the Symphogear users have to survive their encounter and actually defeat the beast before they can obtain the secrets within. Their powers have come a long way after all this time, fueled by the bonds they forged in the song of their hearts. But there's also the remnants of the Bavarian Illuminati lurking in the shadows. And what kind of Pandora's box is waiting to be opened? I rewatched all 4 seasons previously to get hyped up for this, and I'm fucking ready!
Yes, you did. I didn't believe you, but yes, you did.
Some interesting notes about that, though. I didn't remember that they mentioned the custodians, just in passing, in the first season. So they set up a lot of shit early on that I just sort of glossed over getting to this point. They also had some other weird foreshadowing as they went along, like it was either in G or GX where they sort of mentioned Adam Weishaupt's name in passing. And when you're watching it, you don't think anything of it. And then you get to AXE. Oh, that's him. That's you.
You're the asshole.
You're the asshole. It's like, look at how strong I am. Can you see how strong I am? Because I am strong. I mean, our complaints about the fact that AXE is a little weak aside, hopefully, fingers crossed, what they set up for an XV will be super cool. So I'm Symphogear's back. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Yeah, me too. I mean, what to say about like this first episode from season 5 that we haven't already said in our supersized review of the previous 4 seasons? Like it's super entertaining, balls to the wall, insane action from the get-go. The girls donning their cipher armor again with stylish new transformation sequences, and then singing cool battle hymns while kicking ass.
Oh yeah, that's right. In the transformation, there's a literal throwback to the first season's transformations, which is super good.
There you go. A lot of fan service in this, and not only the usual anime fan service kind, but also fan service in regards to people who've been watching from season 1.
Yeah.
It's like you said, if you remember that stuff, and it's okay, this feels like, okay, we're gonna pay off some big things that have been slowly set up over the previous season. And especially in regards to its weaker 4th one, it feels like, I hope it was only weaker because it was set up for what's gonna happen in this one, mostly. So that's my hope that after XV has finished, that will maybe elevate AXZ a bit too, because okay, it was maybe only like the first part to the whole thing, because it definitely feels like this is directly tying into what happened in AXZ, and it's gonna like pay a lot of that stuff off maybe better than AXZ itself did. So yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that show in a couple of months, because we're both gonna watch this from beginning to end. Symphogear is always, even when it's weakest, it's always fun, it's always good.
Yeah, I mean the first episode, well, I mean the whole series is about spectacle, but the first episode of every season is just like, look at us just go a little fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm ready. Let's go.
Yes. All right. I think we've arrived at our shared last keeper for the sneak peek. And that is Vinland Saga, my most anticipated anime in quite a while, because I had read a couple of volumes of the fantastic manga before I decided that the setting and story merit the wait for a possibly great anime adaptation. And well, it's finally here, by the studio behind Attack on Titan of all things. And the good people from Studio Wit went all out on this one. The show looks stunning in every regard. And it's basically a Viking war epic and the tale of a young Viking boy named Thorfinn who has to endure a lot of hardships very early in his life. Great cast, fantastic visuals, amazing music, engaging story with an underused setting. I cannot wait to finally, hopefully, experience this whole saga in the most well-presented way possible. Even the fucking CG looks good. I feel like I've been saying that more often in the maybe someone in Japan is trying to prove me wrong. Me saying that CG in anime mostly sucks. But first, fucking Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, now this, it feels like someone's trying to prove a point. And I appreciate that. Please could other studios adapt that attitude as well and that talent. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, this show looks fantastic and everything else about the show seems fantastic too. My Berserk sense is tingling a lot for this one. And in contrast to that franchise, Vinland Saga got treated a lot better in terms of its anime adaptation, it seems. So yeah, I'm very happy and very excited to see more and eventually talk about it at length on our little podcast. John, what did you think about the first couple of episodes? Because they released the first three episodes in a batch.
Yeah, that was... I don't think I've ever seen that done before, have you?
No, I think they did it because they premiered the first three episodes at AX, and maybe that they were like, yeah, why not also show the first three episodes, put them on streaming at the same time. I don't know if that was the reason, but that felt like a weird coincidence.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that because I didn't follow a whole lot of news out of AX this year. But, yeah, man, I want to see more of Thorfinn's story. I'm really, really interested in seeing where it goes. I mean, I guess we kind of know where it goes, but, how we get to that point.
Yeah, some things in the OP... I mean, anime OPs are always spoilerish in a certain way, some more than others. Attack on Titan probably being one of the worst offenders. And, that's also done by Studio Wit. And, some events that are gonna happen in the anime are pretty clearly portrayed in the OP. And it's like, didn't have to do that. But, okay, sure. It's still a good OP, so there you go. But yeah, some story beats are definitely can be anticipated already and predicted, but that doesn't mean that they won't emotionally resonate, and I think they will. And I mean, I know a lot of the story, well, a few chapters / volumes of the story already, but I loved what I read before, and I definitely want to know where the story goes from that point on, and I can't wait to see the moments that I already saw in the manga to see them animated. It's gonna be right, and I recommend everyone checking out Vinland Saga. This needs to be a success. I don't want this to end after one season because nobody was watching it, which is always a risk when a show airs on fucking Amazon.
Yeah, about that.
So there you go. I hope this doesn't happen to Vinland Saga because this show deserves all the attention it can get. And all the praise it can get. I'm pretty sure about that. And I hope you will check it out. Because we definitely will for the next weeks. However long that show will run. I don't know if it's a 2-core or 1-core show.
I feel like it's going to be a 2-core show. But I have been very wrong in the past. So please don't listen to me.
I would like it to be, but we'll see. Anyway, yeah, that's it for the sneak peek. Lots of good shows. We don't know with how many we stick, not because of quality, but also time. Because, when there's so many good shows, we can't watch all of them. And we might have to make some hard cuts on the way. So,
and when you're like me and you have 5 shows in one day, you have a hard decision to make.
Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. But either way, I'm pretty sure both of us will have enough anime to talk about in our next season and the reviews of that season. I mean, there's always enough anime on this show. That's why it's in the title.
That's true.
All right, speaking of which, let's get to our first show from, well, technically winter, but it's wrapped up in spring. So, from spring 2019. who asserts supreme, unchallengeable rule over his domain, and the feudal lord Kagemitsu Daigo decides to form a pact with 12 demons. He promises each of them a part of his unborn son's body. The demons accept the deal, and so when the baby is born, it comes into this world without limbs, has no face and no skin. Intended to be abandoned and die only through the mercy of a caring midwife and a maker of wooden prosthetics, and his unbreakable will to live, is the young boy able to survive his cursed existence. Years later, the young man, now bearing the name of Hyakkimaru, wanders the land in search of the demons who violated him and to reclaim his stolen body parts. It is on this journey that he stumbles upon a small street urchin called Dororo. Dororo, who has also already experienced a lot of hardships in his young life, decides to tag along and help Hyakkimaru slay some demons and maybe make some profit on the way. What those two could not expect is that this journey turns them into friends, then family, and shows them how thin the line between being a demon and being human really is. So Dororo is a pretty unusual show since it's based on a very old manga by none other than Osamu Tezuka, written between 1967 and 1969. We have mentioned Tezuka before in our review of Atom: The Beginning, and when we talked about Young Blackjack, I think, since he's the creator of Astro Boy, also Blackjack, Phoenix, Kimba the White Lion, Princess Knight, and a bunch of other stuff. Very important figure in the history of this medium.
It has been a minute since we talked about Young Blackjack. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's true. I think neither of us finished that show, but we talked about it in a sneak peek or something. I'm not sure.
I finished it, but
yeah,
it didn't really have the weight to it that the original Blackjack had. So, it was all right, but
Yeah, so Dororo got the manga, got an anime adaptation already in 1969, which ran for 26 episodes. And now it has been about 50 years since the old manga and anime ended. So for its 50th anniversary, it got an anime and manga remake. The manga started in October 2018 and is still running. And this new anime adaptation of the source material we are talking about today started in January 2019 and is a co-production between Studio Mappa and Tezuka Productions, responsible for 17 and 8 episodes respectively. Both have done a lot of stuff at this point. Mappa, we mentioned them earlier in the sneak peek. Aside from that, they did a bunch of animated Garo stuff, the new issue on Tora, TQ, the 3rd season of Hajime no Ippo, and a show that will be reviewed on our next episode, actually, and many other things. And Tezuka Productions has produced and helped out with too many shows to name, count, but they also worked on the animation for different incarnations of Phoenix and Blackjack, one of them being Young Blackjack, I think. Some episodes of Kids on the Slope and March Comes in Like a Lion, among many other things. And yeah, Dororo is mostly a good-looking show. We have some great backdrops and scenery. The old character designs from the manga are updated to look pretty sharp without losing their original charm. Like they kept the classic Socks-esque looking Tezuka feet on certain occasions, for example. The monster/demon designs are neat. A lot of the fights look ridiculously good. With a lot of varied swordplay, nice acrobatics, and cool fight choreography. Especially the duels between Hyakkimaru and his younger brother Tahomaru are amazing. Especially when Tahomaru's 2 bodyguards come into play as well. Nice tag battles there. The OP not only sounds but looks fantastic as well, or both of them. I like the first one more, just because of the song, but visually they are both great. And I think the first one is one of the visually most distinctive OPs I've come across in a while.
Yeah, also, when the bass drops on that song, you feel it. It's super good.
Definitely. It's great.
I mean, I appreciate the second OP, but it's kind of a little gross for my taste.
Oh, yeah, right. The bug stuff. Yeah. I already forgot about it.
That was a little bit for me the first time I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't bother me, but I'm not the biggest fan of Asian Kung Fu Generation. Is that their name? Yes.
Oh, the second intro, I think, was it Asian Kung? I thought it was.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was someone else.
No, I looked it up because I was like, that sounds like Asian Kung Fu Generation. It sounds very much like the second OP of Naruto. But yeah, aside from that, yeah, visually great stuff. There are some hiccups though. The animation quality can get a bit inconsistent at certain points in the show. Director of this series is Kazuhiro Furuhashi, by the way, who pretty much directed all the Rurouni Kenshin adaptations, so he knows his way around samurai.
Apparently, he also worked on Gundam Unicorn in the 1999 Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, and like I said, a few strange hiccups aside, the show looks really good, sometimes even great, but there are some episodes where it's just like some characters are off models, the fight animations look a bit clunky and a bit stiff.
I don't like to see this because it sounds extreme, but there was one scene in one episode, I think in the second half of the show, where it looked like a literal slideshow.
I think you're talking about episode 15, which is the one that comes to mind for me, which is the one with the village that is basically where the entire village basically made a pact with the demons.
Yeah, it was 15 or 16.
Yeah, but, 15 was a weird looking episode.
I remember there was one scene where Hyakkimaru is running through a bamboo thicket and he is literally sliding across the frame, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, not only some of its animation, although the fight on the lake looked good in this episode, where he takes out one of the big moths or whatever they were. But also, the editing and direction is weird. And the characters are drawn and animated very differently than in the other episodes, so it's a bit jarring. But that doesn't feel... I don't know if that is a slip-up in terms of production or if that is intentional, because that episode was directed by Osamu Kobayashi, who also directed Paradise Kiss, Back Mongolian Chop Squad, and the infamous much-loathed 4th episode of Gurren Lagann.
Oh my god, I thought that's why it looked so familiar!
There you go. So I think episode 15 looking so weird when compared to the other episode comes down to his personal style, which maybe didn't gel so well with the usual look of the show, which was pretty much what happened in GL as well. And I think Back and Paradise Kiss look really good, but also very different when compared to shows like Dororo and Gurren Lagann. So I think it comes down to the visual aesthetics or tendencies of the director.
It was just such a sharp turn because, like, you look at something like Beck, and in the confines of its own style and, the way it's set up, it works. You take that style and you do it as a one-off thing in a series where the rest of it doesn't look like that, and it's sort of...
Yeah. It's distinctive to be sure, but it doesn't really fit. So
no, it's
a weird choice.
It feels super disconnected.
Yeah, it's like, hey, remember that thing that happened in Gurren Lagann which really didn't work out? Let's try this again on another show with exactly the same director.
No, let's not.
Outcome. Yeah, it's weird. So, yeah, it happens. But like I said, aside from those small occurrences, it's a pretty consistently good-looking show. The soundtrack is awesome and composed by Yoshihiro Ike, who has also done the music for 2 seasons of Kuroko's Basketball, lots of Cobra stuff, Tiger and Bunny, Rage of Bahamut, and Sonic X of all things. As you'd expect from an anime set in this time period, there are a lot of koto and flute melodies being employed here, but also some riveting orchestral stuff. So it's a good mix between atmosphere-building tunes, simpler tunes for the quieter scenes, and some bangers for the fights. Definitely good stuff in the sound department. We also should probably highlight the writers, because I assume they had a lot to update and upgrade for this adaptation in terms of dialogue. I haven't read the source material, the original manga, but I assume some things got elaborated on and improved here. Not meant as a slide towards Tezuka, by no means.
I know one of the big things was the original story had 48 demons.
Oh.
So,
okay, they trimmed that down a lot.
Maybe trimming that down was a good idea.
Yeah, probably. So we have Akira Kindaichi, who also worked on Garo Vanishing Line and Kakegurui. Kyoko Yoshimura, who wrote for Cardfight Vanguard, also Garo, and again Sonic X. Why is that show popping up everywhere today?
God, and Sonic X was kind of a mess. Except for the episodes where they were like, fuck it, we're just going to do the stories from Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Okay, good, cool, that's fine.
Maybe that's why they trimmed down the episode count and demon count in this show. They also thought they gotta go fast. I don't know. Fuck.
Get the fuck out.
Sorry. The third head in the writing team is Shigeru Murakoshi, who also worked on Garo, Kakegurui, Knights of Sidonia, and Zombieland Saga. And last but not least, we have Yasuku Kobayashi, who was a writer on all seasons of Attack on Titan and all seasons of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and was also responsible for the series composition on those shows and this series as well. So we got a competent person at the helm, writing-wise.
Apparently Kobayashi also worked on like 3 seasons of Kamen Rider, so there's that too.
Which ones?
Agito, Decade, and Ryuki.
Oh, okay, there you go. At least Agito and Ryuki are considered to be 2 of the best ones. So, yeah, guess makes sense. Good writing team here, and it shows. Like, the writing in the show is pretty damn good. Character writing, story writing. I mean, the story is not really complicated. Mm-hmm. This is basically about Hyakkimaru hunting down the demons, or, well, traveling the land. He doesn't really know where the demons are, but he's traveling the land in search for demons and hopes one of the ones he slays is going to be one of the ones that stole his body parts on his birth. This happens to be the case more often in this show than I assume it happens to be the case in the original manga. Considering that you said that there were 48 demons in the original. Or, well, were it 48 demons who stole his body parts in, or was it just 48 demons who he killed in the original?
That I don't know, but I was operating under the assumption that it was both. So please feel free to prove me wrong.
All right. But anyway, more demons in the original, trimmed down here. And yeah, that does wonders for the pacing, I assume, because this is a pretty tightly paced show. We got a bunch of episodes where it's just Dororo and Hyakkimaru coming across a town or people or something, and then there's a demon causing problems, and then that plays into some personal experiences for them and develops their characters. And on the same side, we have also some build up on the side of Daigo, Hyakkimaru's father, and his mother, and Hyakkimaru's brother Taromaru, who becomes much more important at the midpoint of the show. That's also where we have our first big plot-wise story climax with Hyakkimaru and his family. Family, also a theme in this show, and what that really means and everything. Because, you know, you could argue that his parents and his brother and everything are not really Hyakkimaru's family. Mm-hmm. Especially not after he spent some time with Dororo and everything. And the guy who basically raised him, built him the prosthetics and stuff like that is more a real father to him than anyone else. And yeah, so a lot of that is going on. And then we got pretty much 2 big plot climaxes at the midpoint and the end of the show. And that's how that series is structured. And I never got bored. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, well, they kept it going at a pretty brisk pace, so it never really felt stale at any point, I thought. So
yeah, there are some weaker episodes definitely where it's like, yeah, okay, that's all right, but it's not super great. But then there are some nice surprises that work really well from an emotional standpoint and have some interesting things to say. In general, I feel like one of the most interesting things about this show is how it portrays, or how much detail, how much care it puts into Hyakkimaru getting his body parts back and how that affects him. Like, there's some pretty great scenes just in terms of presentation and staging and everything. For example, in the beginning, when one of the first demons Hyakkimaru slays gives him his face back. And then he gets a cut on his face, and for the first time. And that's just a powerful scene, like the way he reacts to that. And the first time he's standing in the rain and feeling it on his skin and stuff like that. I really, really liked how the show took its time to not make this like this plot device where it's, hey, he's trying to get his body parts back, but also, hey, how how does this affect him, like in terms of actually feeling like a real human more and more for the first time in his life. And I think that was really well done in the show and had some emotionally responsive scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you don't really, or if you're born with all of your senses and your extremities intact, and some people lose them over time because circumstances. But I feel like for like us, that's sort of something you don't really think about.
Mhm.
So seeing him get these body parts back that originally belonged to him and have the experiences for the first time that we've all known for as long as we've known, it's really cool to see that they go into it just long enough for you to get an idea of what it's like for him, but they don't dwell on it super long. So,
No.
and then that way, they're able to be like, hey, this is what it's like for him now, but let's also keep going a little bit. So
Yeah.
it works out on both fronts in a really good way.
Yeah, definitely. They just spent the right amount of time on that. And they're not only, it's not like, okay, he's got his body parts and he's done with it. That would be kind of boring, but he also in certain occasions, for example, he gets weaker when he gets his actual body parts back because now he's more vulnerable than he was before. He's stronger in certain aspects because, wooden prosthetics and stuff like that before, but he can be hurt. His body parts can taken from him again, and this time it will hurt a lot. And
the next time you lose your arm, if that happens, well,
yeah, and he can be cut and bruised and all that stuff. And, when he gets his hearing back, everything is super loud and he has to learn how to cope with that and learn how to live his life with that and get used to that and everything. So, like I said, I really like that the show takes its time to make that part of his character. And also, of course, one of the deeper themes is what makes you an actual human being? Like, again, what is it to be a human being? But also, does Hyakkimaru really need those body parts to be a human? Or does it maybe make him less of a human if he is willing to kill for it, let people get hurt through his quest for his body parts and for his quest to become more human? Will that not make him more of an actual demon in the end? Or more of an animal or stuff like that? And the show explores those story tangents very well too, which I also really appreciated. Just in general, the show loves to show us the different facets of demons and humans. Often the humans in the series are just as bad or even worse than the demons. And there are not only just evil monsters around, some of them are peaceful, not all demons are bad. We got this one demon, I think Ohagi was her name. What she's doing and the person she's doing it with, that comes from a good place, kinda, and it's kind of a nice, sweet relationship. So, yeah, that can also happen in the show. It's not one-sided. It's not like, hey, these demons are always bad and the humans are always good. Sometimes it's the other way around, and the show doesn't really pull any punches when it comes to showing how evil and violent and brutal human beings can be. Like the village thing I mentioned earlier, the episode that looks so weird. The whole village is in on its lord's deal with the demons. And one of the plot points is they actually sacrificed other humans to keep the demons happy and well fed, so their village can blossom. And that, of course, is a really bad thing, hurting all those people for only your community can prosper. And you would think that, okay, the show is taking a definite stance here and saying, okay, we gotta take these people down, they did a bad thing. But then again, we see Dororo struggling with Hyakkimaru being kind of narrow-minded when it comes to killing the demons and thus dooming the village to, well, poverty and destruction. And he feels kind of responsible for the fallout, like the whole village getting destroyed, kids who will probably starve now. So the show is really questioning, okay, who is ultimately the bad guy here? What could have been done? And is Hyakkimaru the good guy here just because he's slaying the evil demons? Probably not, because he's not thinking about the fallout out of all of this. So yeah, Interesting stuff, just in terms of deeper themes that the showing is trying to go into. And I was wondering, like, is Sabame's story, who is the guy, the lord of this village, who only knew his village and didn't care about anything else, never ventured outside his village, and thus decided that his village, his community, is more important than anyone else? If this was a commentary on like small-minded communities and people who, you know, only keep to themselves and are not into like an exchange with other, I don't know, countries, people, communities, whatever. There are a lot of those around who's like, us first, right?
Mm.
So I wonder if that episode was a commentary on that. It definitely feels like it. It felt like it.
I kind of feel like the story as a whole is that sort of commentary because Daigo is so obsessed with the prosperity of his kingdom that, you know, he doesn't see the forest for the trees, basically. He's just so like, Hyakkimaru, you are the real enemy of humanity. And yes, yes and no. But, you know, Daigo, you're not seeing both sides of it either, my dude.
Yeah.
So it feels like, you know, that was sort of a microcosm of the story at large as well.
And I will still differentiate between Daigo and Tahomaru in that regard, because at starting from the midpoint of the show, it seems like they pretty much have the same goal.
Yeah.
And why they want to take out Hyakkimaru, but I still think their characters are a bit different. I'll get into that later. But I like how, in general, how matter-of-fact the show treated most of the atrocities committed by human beings in this world. And there's a very harsh moment pretty early on in the show where Hyakkimaru forms a connection to a human being, and then bad shit happens. And while I would have liked a longer goodbye for that person, I think it fits the show how uncompromising it treated the brutality of it all and how quickly and dirty that whole affair went by. And it felt very much in tone with the rest of the show. And it's like, yeah, humans suck. And
you're not wrong.
And sometimes we're worse than any demon could ever be, and especially if we lose contact to our humanity. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have some really sweet emotional moments. It's not all dark, gritty, bad stuff here. Like the scene between Hyakkimaru and his surrogate dad. Like these scenes are really great. When they reunite at a certain point, there's like this really, really sweet moment that made me tear up. And he just in general, I don't know if we in the show ever get his name. It's in the Wikipedia article and probably in the manga, but I don't know if he's ever mentioned in the anime.
I feel like they say Jukai's name at least once.
Okay, but the show makes a point of saying, hey, my name doesn't matter, at least not telling it to Hyakkimaru. It doesn't matter because I'm something special to him and he has already verbalized that, and the rest doesn't matter because my past is my past. Now I can finally start getting over it, which I couldn't before. This is one of the most emotionally rewarding scenes in that show, I think.
I agree.
It's just in general, like Jukai's relationship to Hyakkimaru is great. It's also not one-sided. He built the prosthetics for Hyakkimaru, but he kind of regrets that because while it enables Hyakkimaru to live a somewhat normal life and actually kill demons to eventually get his body parts back, his actual body parts, it also sends him down like a path of hell and destruction and violence and makes him risk becoming more a demon himself. And that's what Jukai doesn't want at all for him, because he's a son for him and he is afraid that will happen to Hyakkimaru. So at some point in the show, he is reluctant to, let him go, to give him new prosthetics, whatever. So that because he's afraid that Hyakkimaru will lose himself, and he couldn't bear that responsibility and doesn't want that for him because he loves him. So that's good stuff, and I really like the relationship between those two, even though they didn't have that many scenes together. But those they had were really good. But also that scene and a lot of other scenes in that show made me think, what kind of witchcraft does Jukai employ when it comes to the prosthetics? Because
don't worry about it.
Yeah, this is not like Full Metal Alchemist where they clearly show how that thing works, like where it's like this grueling process of connecting the automail to the actual nerve ends, and then it's some kind of steampunky techno shit and some magic and alchemy going on, so that Edward can actually make that shit work like a normal hand, like a normal arm. In this show, it's just like
it just works. Shut up.
Yeah, it just works. Hyakkimaru just fucking attaches the wooden legs and arms to his stumps, and then they just work like normal body parts. It's like, okay, that shouldn't.
It's the Bethesda way. It just works.
Yeah. Thank God it's not the Bethesda way. It would just be, I don't know, jumping through the sky and stuff like that, unintentionally. But no, it's just. This is one of those things where you just like John said earlier, don't worry about it.
Yeah, basically.
You have to go maximum suspense of disbelief because it's just, okay, he basically has just sword forearms, but the moment he puts the prosthetic arms over those swords, they act like normal hands and arms. It shouldn't work. It can't work unless there's magic involved, which they don't say in this show. They don't say that Yuka is some kind of, I don't know, alchemist or magic practitioner or whatever, or has some weird juju going on.
I mean, this world is filled with demons, so maybe it's just, the implication. We don't need to say it.
Yeah, okay. I think the most reasonable way to look at it is that Hyakkimaru, because he got in contact with the demons and because the body parts were taken, but he survived, got some demon power in him as well. I mean, he can, without having eyes, he can see the auras of the demons and people. He can basically see who is bad and who is not, which is very convenient. Humans who are bad have like this kind of red shimmer around them and stuff like that, and demons are fully red in terms of their aura. But it also sometimes makes things difficult, because there's this one scene where Dororo is possessed by a evil sword, and Hyakkimaru only sees the evil of the swords and starts attacking Dororo without taking any regard to that Dororo might still be normal, because he only sees the evil of the sword. So that's also kind of a hindrance when it comes to not killing everything inside. But yeah, you could use that as an explanation. Okay, he has some kind of demonic power that gives him the ability to control these prosthetics like normal limbs. So if we want to go that route, if you want to take the extra mile to try and explain away this shit, that's how you could approach it. If not, you don't need to do this. It's like, okay, it's whatever. He can just do it. Whatever.
Come on, the mental gymnastics like that are fun.
Yeah, well, they are fun, kind of. Like, just thinking about, you just shouldn't go overboard. And especially, you shouldn't let that ruin a show for you, where it's like, no, this is too unrealistic. I can't accept. This is about a fucking boy with two sword hands who fucking got born without any means to live, basically, and any real body parts, and he kills demons. So, really, that is not
yourself. It's fine.
Yeah, that's not the hill you should die on. Anyway, like I said, everything between Hyakkimaru and Jukai is really sweet. And of course, everything, well, not everything, but a lot of the stuff between Hyakkimaru and Dororo is really sweet. The relationship between them is the core of the show and well developed. With every new episode, they learn something more about each other and grow closer and closer and develop this really tight relationship. Like I said, first become friends, then they feel like family. And all that despite the fact that Hyakkimaru talks very little in this show. Because initially he can't, because he doesn't have a tongue or a voice. I don't know what it is exactly that the demon stole. And once he can, he's just not used to it, and a man of few syllables.
Yeah, it's like he's learning how to speak, because he speaks in very simple phrases and sentences at first.
Yeah, it gets more elaborate later on, but he's not a blabbermouth like Dororo is.
Yeah.
Dororo does most of the talking in general. In the beginning, he's like doing all the, hey, we heard you got a demon in this town, and my Aniki here can slay them. It's no problem. He's the strongest guy around. So, he's the deal striker, the bargainer here, the hustler.
You're not even wrong.
So, yeah, and then the thing shifts a bit when Hyakkimaru gets his voice, and it gets more interesting, and the relationship deepens and everything. Of course, they have some few gripes with each other here and there, but mostly they stay on friendly terms, and it becomes pretty clear early on that they have become very important to each other. And that's the heart of the show. And I think the show knows that and treats those two characters very well when it comes to the relationship between those two. Aside maybe a bit from the ending, I wish their relationship got a bit of a better conclusion. I mean, they hint at a specific development also that relates to kind of a secret when it comes to Dororo's character, which I don't want to give away. But they hint to a specific outcome for their character story, but that is not shown in the anime.
Do you feel like that ending could have given it a little bit more time to breathe?
Definitely. It feels like the ending was a bit rushed.
Yeah.
Like we said, they trimmed a lot of stuff down, apparently, so that's maybe the ending falls victim to that a bit.
I feel like maybe they could have given it one more episode and I would have been all right with it. But, you know, saying that is easier said than done because production timelines and all of that sort of stuff. But,
I mean, we get a bit of epilogue for both characters, and we know what they're going to be up to next and what's going to happen. It's not like, okay, here, final battle, and then credits, right? We know what Dororo is going to do. We know what Hyakkimaru is going to do. It's just like, okay, I would have liked to see... We even get like an epilogue kind of between Hyakkimaru and his dad, in a way. So that too, which I didn't expect. Because Daigo kind of is on the outside of the story for most of the second half of this show.
Yeah.
He's like doing his own thing and only feels the repercussions of what Hyakkimaru is doing, but he's not directly involved. So it was nice that they have a moment at the end together. But yeah, the story between Dororo and Hyakkimaru, I would have liked to have a nice exclamation point on that in the end and have like a nice cathartic moment between those two. And then a nice the end or something, which we don't really get. But it's fine. You can make up your own end to their story in your head, and the show is giving you some pretty clear guidelines in the last few moments where it might end up. So it's like, okay, sure. I can see where this is going, and that's fine with me, and it's okay. Some weird observations before we get to more story stuff. I don't know how you felt about that. Dororo's voice actress has a very unusual voice and way of speaking. I don't know. Is that an actual young girl? Is that a special kind of dialect? I don't know. It just felt just her voice performance felt very unusual.
Well, yeah. Apparently, Ryo Suzuki she's only 14 years old, and this was like one of 2 voice credits she has to her name. So.
Yeah, that explains it. It's a very distinctive way of talking. It's not like this typical. Of course, you get your anime screaming and stuff like that, but it's just this. It feels like a bit of a more natural, normal way of talking, like a normal person, not a voice actor, would maybe talk.
Yeah, it does feel like that. And I mean, Hyakkimaru's voice actor, Hiroki Suzuki. This is basically his only voice credit as well. He's done some live action stuff, but this is his one voice role, apparently.
I mean, I have a feeling if he has done some live action stuff, they probably used him as a pull for, to get a wider audience to watch this show. And especially since he doesn't have that many lines in this show. And it's like, okay, we can use a non-professional voice actor for this. It won't be that noticeable because he doesn't have that much dialogue either. So maybe they use him. Maybe he's a good-looking guy, and they were like, "Hey, here, he's in this show. Want to hear him be a disfigured samurai boy? There you go."
Yeah, apparently he was in some live-action TV series called Here Is Greenwood.
Okay.
And then
that sounds like a soap opera.
And then apparently he was in a few episodes of Kamen Rider Decade as Blade.
Oh, he was Blade in Decade. Okay, all right. Okay, then I've seen him. Sure. I mean, I wonder how many TV actors haven't been in a Kamen Rider show at some point. It's one of the most long-running, most successful franchises out there, aside from the Super Sentai stuff.
That's
and
true.
Ultraman,
yeah.
I guess. So, yeah, there's probably a lot of overlap there in regards to who played live action stuff. But yeah, the other thing that I noticed, and I thought he was the narrator for on Mob Psycho 100 in the beginning, but apparently he's not. But the narrator in this gets a bit overzealous at times and explains stuff that is fucking obvious.
That's Mookie Hito for you.
Yeah, it's not as bad as in Hunter x Hunter, but it feels unnecessary very often. And it's like, yeah, thank you, I got that. The animation department did a terrific job of bringing that across. You didn't have to spell that out. You are not necessary here.
No, but don't you understand? I have to explain this to you. You don't understand unless I explain it to you.
It feels like they wanted to give the scene more gravitas by employing a person with a lot of gravitas in his voice, talking about that stuff, but sometimes it drops any given scene off the gravitas they want to have just by talking about it. Maybe a bit ill-advised in certain regards, but it's not ruining the show or anything. It was just one of those things that popped up here and there, was like, why is this in here?
I feel like as they went on, they sort of pulled that back a little, though.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was definitely more noticeable in the first half of the show than in the second half. Also, in terms of why was it in here, the monk Biwamaru, who sometimes helps Dororo and Hyakkimaru out of tight spots, I guess, but mostly is there as a mouthpiece when it comes to explaining the world around a bit here and there and verbalizing some stuff about the inner workings of Hyakkimaru and, some of the demons and stuff like that. He feels like an exposition piece mostly.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, we kind of can assume what his deal is, and, he's also blind and everything, and was a samurai before, who's traveling the land. But yeah, he mostly feels like, okay, I'm in this for exposition and verbalizing some of the themes that are going on here, and not much else. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if you were that necessary in the show. It's not like he's a bother or anything, or he's like intrusive or an obstruction or anything, or is hindering the plot from moving forward or stuff like that. No, that never happens. It's just like his character doesn't really get any development at all, and the things he does, aside from a few important key moments where he really helps those two out, is a bit superfluous. And I wonder if his role was more prevalent in the original manga.
I mean, I just saw him as sort of like, the old man voice of reason. Well, really, a lot of the characters surrounding Hyakkimaru were his voice of reason when you get right down to it, so...
Yeah, I guess. But some of them felt also more integral to specifically to his character. Just in terms of relationship. Biwamaru, not really. He's just... Well, he is there in the beginning, right? When Hyakkimaru is abandoned, the midwife puts him on the boat, and then she gets killed, and Biwamaru, I think, is the one who slays the demon that kills her, and who ponders whether he should kill Hyakkimaru or not, and leaves him alive. I mean, he's kind of maybe also responsible that Hyakkimaru is still here, and has a relationship with him in that regard, but aside from that, there's not much really meaningful interaction between those two. And yeah, maybe moral compass in some moments, but I think there are other characters in the show that serve that purpose much better than he does. So I don't know, maybe you could have cut him out probably without losing too much. But also, he's not really an obstacle. That's just something, again, that jumped out at me. I think the most interesting stuff, aside from the themes about humanity and everything, and Hyakkimaru's relationship with Dororo, is the relationship between Hyakkimaru and his brother Tahomaru. Because the show spends a lot of time on both of them. And they come at this from a very different angle. They grew up very differently, of course. Like Hyakkimaru at Dr. Dukai's and then traveling the land, slaying the demons, and Tahomaru at the estate of his family, Lord Daigo, and everything. And, had a pretty childhood kind of training, and he knew what war is pretty early on and stuff like that. But he had his two bodyguards, Mutsu and Hyoko, and he always got what he needed, or so it seems. You would think that he lived this cherished life and everything, and he got everything that his brother didn't get. But, and that becomes very important in kind of the final moments of the show, a lot was taken from his childhood as well, because his parents were concerned kind of with the fallout of what they did. Well, his mother was, because the mother of Taromaru and Hyakkimaru is riveted with shame and regret over giving Hyakkimaru away and letting that deal with the demons happen and everything. And she prays to that goddess statue and hopes that Hyakkimaru is well for every day. And she doesn't really pay attention to Taromaru. She's not really there for him because her mind is with Hyakkimaru and her regret and everything. So he doesn't really have a mom. And his dad is his dad. Daigo is an asshole.
Yes.
Like from top to bottom. And this is also where what you said comes in earlier. You said you felt like, hey, Daigo really cares about his people, his land and everything, and wants them to be safe. And that's why he makes the deal with the demons, because I think in the beginning of the show it's made clear that a drought is threatening the people and everything, and an invading army or something like that, and he strikes a deal with the demons, among other things, to avert that crisis and give him the power and the blessing to make this land prosper under his rule, though. Because that seems to me is the most important part to Daigo. That's what he says in the ending, I think, is, I am the supreme ruler of this. This land cannot prosper without me. I am the only one keeping it alive. And he is an egocentric asshole. And he is willing to sacrifice his own child to make this happen without trying to implore other means there. He doesn't even believe in anyone else being able to make this happen or to help this land prosper. No, he puts it on his shoulders, but not because of feeling responsible, or at least that's not the biggest part of it. It's part of it, sure. I will grant him that. He feels responsible for his land and his people. But he's also, it's more of an egoistic attitude, because he feels responsible because he thinks so highly of himself. And he thinks that this land should prosper because he is the Lord. He is the master of this land. And that's why it should prosper. And not because he cares necessarily for the people in the land. Because I think he really doesn't. That's just a facade. And the one who really cares about the people, who really wants this land to prosper and who wants to do right by the people, is Taromaru. He's the one who does this out of the good of his heart. Which makes it all the more jarring that he is kind of, through naivete and through the harsh things he experiences, and because he just wants to be acknowledged by his father so much. And that's why he's convinced by his father to turn against his brother and to see Hyakkimaru as this pure evil that is threatening the people of this land. And he puts all the responsibility on his shoulders. He's like, no, I'm gonna be the next lord of this country, of this land, and the people are suffering if Hyakkimaru gets his body parts back and if the deal with the demons is not upheld. And his father is not doing that out of the good of his heart. I really don't believe that. Taromaru is. It's just really misguided. Because he doesn't really think about it. In the beginning, he's is appalled by his dad striking a deal with the demons and his brother getting abandoned. And they got some interaction in between that makes you think like, oh, maybe they'll work it out and stuff like that. But then once he knows and once he sees what Hyakkimaru reclaiming his body parts does to certain parts of the country, he decides that that can't happen, and his father's way is the only way, and he has to kill his brother. And that, that's really a shame, and that's really sad to see, because in essence, Taromaru is a sympathetic character, and he could have been the hero of the story, because his intentions are really good, unlike those of his father.
Yeah, it's like these misaligned intentions where you see them, you see a lot of the characters wanting to get to this one goal, but everyone has their way and it has to be their way, and that causes, not like a disconnect in the story, but a disconnect between the characters, in a narrative manner. It's interesting, but it's also sort of sad to see, hey, why can't we see eye to eye? Because I have to do it like this oh, oh, okay. And, you know, it just causes, it sort of causes, you know, like you said, Tahomaru to go back on his ideals and abandon his brother in favor of what his asshole dad has to say.
Yeah, I mean, his dad manipulates him. He instills fear in him of failing their people. And unlike Daigo, Tahomaru really is concerned with the well-being of their people.
Mm-hmm.
So this works. This play works. Of course, Tahomaru also harbors some resentment towards Hyakkimaru because after a while, he holds him responsible for taking his childhood from him by being the thing only on his mom's mind, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, now threatening his legacy. So it's easy to see why it would be easy for Tahomaru to see him as this single-minded evil that he could slay and make everything better by just killing this one person, like saving everyone else in the land, making everything better by just killing this one person that on the outside seems to be like this really violent being that only is able to slay demons and has nothing else to offer. And he can't really see beyond that at a certain point, or doesn't want to see beyond at that point, at least for the most part of the second half of the show. And I think that was very well, just the relationship between those two characters and how those were developed pretty simultaneously while not being together at the same time. Tahomaru's story and the episodes he's important in, just happen in a different part of the country than Hyakkimaru's and Dororo's story happens. I mean, there's some overlap at certain points, like at the midpoint of the show and then at the end again. But in between, it's like, yeah, these two characters get developed, but not
Never
with
together.
each other. Yeah, never together. And it still works out because you see, like, okay, they have this different way through life, but they have some commonalities here and there. And most of it comes all down to having a shitty dad. But yeah, it's really good stuff. I really like the relationship between those two characters and how it was developed. And I think also the show does a pretty good job at bringing all things full circle in the finale. In the penultimate episode, Hyakkimaru's mom pretty much spells out why his quest is justified and why the people are not entitled to the benefits they gain from the sacrifice forced on Hyakkimaru. It's basically like the motto at the end of the show, the hey, here's your He-Man moral tale at the end, whatever. Just like, here's your moral lesson, that we have to grab what we need and protect what we want to protect with our own hands, and not blame others for our own unwillingness to sacrifice and fight. And yeah, that's a pretty good notion. That's a pretty convincing speech towards action and taking help from others, sure, but not letting all the others do all the important things and just, you know, retreat to your own little corner here and let the others manage stuff. And when it doesn't go your way and things turn out badly, just blame them for it. That's the statement of the show at the end, I would say. It's like, yeah, Hyakkimaru maybe is bringing ruin to this country, is causing people to lose something now, but they have caused him, or his father basically, decided for the people what to do. They gave the power to his father, and his father decided for the people to make Hyakkimaru lose something in the beginning, to sacrifice something. So he has already sacrificed stuff. And now they are angry at him for getting that back, even though he's kind of entitled to it and was never considered or asked if he wanted to sacrifice that. So yeah, that's really interesting. It's really like, okay, he never had a choice and you were angry for him to taking matters into his own hands and taking it back now.
Yeah, and
by his own power.
Yeah, and he sort of owns that responsibility because he's like,
yes,
yeah, it's mine. I don't care what it costs. Give me back what's mine.
Yeah, it wasn't your right. It wasn't your place to take it away from me. You had not the right to do this.
Yeah, because I mean, he does see. They do sort of display that he sees what's going on around him, but he's like, yeah, I get it. Okay, where is what belongs to me?
And it is not like it's come out of greed or anything, right? Or misplaced greed. Sure, he wants to be human. He wants human to be so much. that he's sometimes very narrow-minded about it, and that's when Dororo comes into play and some other people in his life to, put him on the path again and say, like, hey, that's not all that matters. But it's not all for, like, just because he feels like he's entitled to his body, it's also because he wants to be more human for other people. Like, there's a very important scene where, because of his lack of human body parts, he can protect Dororo. And Dororo has become so important to him at this point that this is the most emotionally harrowing thing that Hyakkimaru is experiencing. And he blames his lack of a physical body, or a real physical body, for that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's also a reason. It's like, to protect the people, to perfectly protect the people that I care about, I must reclaim that what was taken from me without asking me. So it feels like those moments make his quest warranted and make it understandable, even if at certain points in the show he's very narrow-minded, he's very straightforward, and doesn't seem to give a shit about what that does to the people in this land who are protected by the demons at some point. And that is also, like, protected in quotes, because those demons are still running around and eating other people, a lot of them anyway. Yeah. So it's not like everyone is living a super happy life. This country is prospering on the backs of a few people who are suffering because of the deal Daigo made with the demons, and are still suffering. And, because Hyakkimaru is one of them and he can do something about it, kinda, that's the way it plays out. It's not all black and white. It's a bit gray here and there, but I still feel that at the end, Hyakkimaru's quest was justified, and he was in the right here to do what he did, even though it probably hurt some people on the way. And he might have lost himself to his more demonic nature at some point. But at the end of the show, you might think about it differently. You might say, hey, it would have been better if he would have just died. Take Daigo's standpoint. Like, Daigo's country, most of Daigo's country was fine as long as Hyakkimaru didn't meddle and stuff like that. So maybe it should have worked out that way and would have been better for everything, for everyone. I mean, that's Taromaru's stance, at least at some point. He wants to do everything to protect the people in his land. The ends justify the means, and the needs of many outweigh the means of a few or a single person. Very Star Trek Wrath of Kanish, but yeah, that's kind of his approach to the whole thing.
I will say one of the more thematic things I liked is during the second ending sequence, how Dororo comes more and more into focus the later episode you get, and I think that's a really good just visual representation of Hyakkimaru, recovering himself in his journey with Dororo.
Yeah, and their relationship deepening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we haven't really talked about, I mean, aside from the relationship to Hyakkimaru, we haven't talked that much about the titular. With the title, it makes it seem like he's the main character, but kinda, I think Hyakkimaru is more important. Like, his story. I mean, don't get me wrong, Dororo's story is also pretty good and interesting. Just the things he experienced in his life, and his relationship to Hyakkimaru, and how that plays into everything, and his personal development, and his relationship to other characters in this show. And there's definitely growth there for Dororo, a lot actually, in terms of character, just where he starts out from and where he ends up as two completely different people. But I still feel like Hyakkimaru's story was more interesting than his. But it wasn't bad. Though I expected this show being called Dororo, that there would maybe be, a bit more meat to his personal story.
Yeah, I was going to say that earlier. Isn't it strange that the show is called one thing, but it's really about another?
Yeah. I mean, Dororo, again, is the heart of the show, and his relationship with Hyakkimaru is. So it makes sense to give that name to the show. I mean, Tezuka probably had something clear in mind for that. I mean, there was a reason why he named the show, the manga, that way. And maybe, again, we have more stuff in the manga apparently than is in the anime, so maybe there was a bit more stuff with to Dororo's tale as well. We don't know.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's enough interesting stuff going on with both of these characters, story-wise, plot-wise, character development-wise, that I like them a lot as the main characters. I think they're really good, really great.
And they played off of each other in really good ways.
Yeah, and just to beat the dead horse Daigo one more time, just to wrap up that plot discussion, and in terms of what that piece of shit did and where he ended up and everything. And I think some people maybe wanted a different end, might want a different end to his story, but I still found his, like, the final moments for him in this story and his realization and everything very satisfying.
Yeah.
Like, Daigo says he sacrificed Hyakkimaru for the good of his people, and I think all know at this point that he's probably full of shit, but it's really neat for him to realize at the end that the one thing that could have actually really saved his country was the inner strength of his son, which he was willing to sacrifice to the demons. So basically, he cheated to make himself the most powerful because he thought so highly of himself that he thought he was the only one being able to make his land prosper, and thus ultimately played himself. Which is a pretty good, I don't know, like,
it's a good life
backhanded
lesson.
Punch in the face. Yeah, it's pretty good. It felt pretty good for him to realize that he is responsible for all the bad that has befallen his land. In the end, kinda. And yeah, I like that. I really like the end of his story in that regard, even though he doesn't really play a big part in the second half of the show, in my opinion. But yeah, it felt really satisfying, the way they wrapped up that particular story beat.
Yeah, his final moments were definitely in stark contrast to, without saying certain spoilers, to the sacrifices of certain other characters, and it felt appropriate in comparing that.
Definitely. Yeah. The ending of the show, like I said, is a bit open, and theoretically leaves room for a continuation, but I think the important parts of that story have been told.
Mm.
Maybe the manga goes a bit further, and then maybe we get another season, but doesn't really need it. Like I said, it's not like this very clear-cut ending, but you can see where those two characters might go from here on out, and the main part of their personal stories have been told. Everything else would just really be a side dish, or would feel like it, maybe. I think their most important character stories and development has been done in this show, and I can't really see them doing much more with that.
I feel like it, even though, it was kind of an open ending, that it was also a logical end point, so it gave us just enough to chew on that. Oh yeah, of course that's going to be next, but also be like, that's a good place to leave it.
Yes. I think I can't say much more about Dororo. I like this show a lot. It's entertaining. It's violent and very bloody. Very violent and very bloody fantasy tale, with some meatier themes to chew on, and some things to say about the human nature. And not all of it is super deep stuff, but I think regardless, the messages it's trying to bring across ring true mostly, and give you enough interesting stuff to think about. And it's all presented very well, few minor glitches aside.
Mm-hmm.
I can recommend it to anyone who isn't too squirmish when it comes to violent stuff and gore, because there's a lot in this show. Just be aware of that. Like, holy shit, a lot of flying limbs, and I don't mean the wooden ones of Hyakkimaru. And if you would like to check out a great updated version of a classic manga/anime from the 60s, and you're not in the mood to watch Devilman Crybaby, or what else did we have? Well, Banana Fish was from the 80s, but I think Megalobox was also, well, kind of pseudo reimagining sequel to an old 60s manga, Ashita no Joe. So there you go. But if you're not in the mood for that, and are more into more classic samurai tales, I think this will be up your alley. And it's really good stuff. And Hyakkimaru and Dororo are great main characters. yeah, I think it will be worth your time. I recommend you checking out the show. It's 24 episodes, not too long of a watch. You can watch it on Amazon, and yeah, I think you will leave the show pretty satisfied, even though the ending might be a bit rushed. But yeah, I still think the anime had a satisfying conclusion, and I'm happy with what we got. And I think John mostly feels the same.
Yeah, I thought, I went into this not knowing much about it. I should really do some more reading on some of Tezuka's other more obscure works. But it was, enjoyable for the most part. Yeah, I think it's worth watching.
Yeah, definitely. Good looking show, entertaining show, cool cast, and a good hard-failed tale that also goes into a bit more interesting things in regards to what it means to be a human being. And I think it does us well to think a bit more about that than most of us do most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a wrap on the 77th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and some interesting articles linked in our episode release posts. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at AnimeBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
So long, everybody. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
Butt stuff.
And the hero returns, but maybe his punch isn't quite cutting it this time.